I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Sean Peter, who was kind enough to back us on Patreon. If you would like to be like Sean and support the network, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv in order to kick us a couple of bucks a month and get some rewards. So once again, that is patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And you're listening to a Bonfireside Chat Appendix. It is a very loving homage to the appendix.
to the concept of appendices.
Yes, to the most favorite organ in your body.
Yeah, they call you vestigial, but I have faith in you, little buddy.
Yeah,
Don't
everything's
kill me.
vestigial, technically.
Yeah.
Like, who even needs love?
Yeah, nothing is permanent. If I'm going to die, why should God get to exist?
Exactly. Yeah. Can I send you to richarddawkins.com and have you learn a little bit about a little something we like to call rationalism? So we are talking about your responses to 3D dot game heroes, as well as some deleted scenes. Thanks for responding, guys.
Yeah, everybody's favorite domain name.
Yes, exactly. 3D dot game heroes.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and get us started here with just a couple quick ones here. Just because one of them is just Jeremy Greer saying swords, big ass damn swords. Lots of Z's in there. And
lots of Z's or just enough?
Just enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, lots. A lot is enough.
Yeah, lots spelled with a Z. Yeah.
Yes. Big lots of Z's. Yeah, so agreed, Jeremy. There are a lot of big-ass swords in the game. Continuing on to Alex, who says, via contact, 3D Dot Game Heroes is a fun game from an alternate universe where the Zelda franchise never got a sequel after the first game. It makes me realize how sad I am that Nintendo abandoned the original style almost completely and how oddly similar Zelda is to Dark Souls. You start in a world without knowledge and almost no way to defend yourself. The only way to survive is to explore and experiment. Of course, 3D Dot is more friendly, borrowing much more from the original Dragon Quest, which is a lot more linear. Overall, I'm just very happy this game exists. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised we didn't spend more time in the episode complaining about modern Zelda games.
I
mean, we do that a lot across the network, and I do it a lot in my spare time too.
It's on street corners to anybody who will listen.
Yeah, I essentially like that. That's a stump that I've got my name engraved on the side of. They know my name down at that stump.
Yep.
But it was definitely relevant here because as much as we were kind of searching for ways to tie this into the Souls games, like this reflects on modern Zelda hella a lot. Yeah,
in a very poor way. You know what? I think that maybe I'm just more positive on the series after Link Between Worlds. Honestly,
yeah.
Like
It gives me hope. Yeah. It doesn't make Skyward Sword better. It doesn't make me want to play
Twilight Princess,
Twilight Princess, or even like Phantom Tracks or whatever.
Yeah.
But it does make me feel like the series could be good again.
It's just one of those things where like something incredibly positive doesn't set off my criticism of something else. Like it doesn't stand in contrast. If this did something shitty in a way that modern Zeldas do, then I would use that as a through line. I was just enjoying being positive about something.
Yeah, it's something that like on paper I like.
Yeah.
A lot, like Zelda's one of those things where it's like a series I like, but I like less than half the entries in it.
It's the Mega Man problem.
Oh, it's more than that. Somebody I saw a thing where they're talking about awesome games done quick. Slow down, Gary, and put your words in order. Talking about awesome games done quick, and they said Metroid isn't a good series; it's a bad series with one really amazing game.
That's probably true.
I think that's true.
Well, yeah.
Like in retrospect, and a couple of decent games, and a lot of games I don't care for. Like, and the Zelda is a hair better than that. I think. Like it has more really great games in it, but just the volume is not super favorable. Yeah. And even the ones that aren't bad, like even like Oracle of Ages and stuff, those are good games, but they're not outstanding.
Right.
Like they get decent. Like that's a good game. It's like a B game.
Yeah.
But it's not incredible.
Right. It's not life-changing in a way that a Link Between Worlds or a Link's Awakening is.
Yes. Yeah. Or even the way like Zelda 1 was, and life-changing. And even like, and me being part of a minority that really likes Zelda 2. Like I like Zelda 2 more than I like Oracle of Ages, not necessarily to play, but in concept.
Right.
Like I respect it more.
We have Chase Greenley on the Facebook page writing in saying, 3D Dot Game Heroes is a game that I should love more, but slips off me like rain off a wing. I'm going to put in a flute noise there because that's poetic. The visuals are lovely. The gameplay is tight, and the puzzles are great for the aha moment. That said, the sum of the parts is lacking. The story has no great shakes, at least as far as I've gotten into it. Certainly not enough to hold my attention for terribly long. The block-built/tilt-shift graphics, while never boring, do tend to fade into the game itself after a while. My biggest complaint, though, is the overworld. I feel like it takes too long to get from one place to another, and travel isn't fun to redo if you lose progress. I didn't get too far into the game this time playing. The Desert Temple boss killed me a few times, and I lost my will to keep playing. But I have made it further in years past. I love this game and what it tries to do, but I am sure someday I'll give it another try, another hopefully more complete chance. Yeah. So, there are a couple things in there, like the fast travel does alleviate that. I would say, especially when you get into those sections of the overworld that are an extension of the dungeon, it does get a little bit sloggy.
The overworld in general is smaller than I thought it was.
Right.
Initially, like it takes less time to walk from one end to the other than I initially thought, and I could see being early in the game and feeling like it's bigger than it is, but it has a little bit of that Souls like knowledge compresses space, because once you know the way to get somewhere, it's not that bad to backtrack,
right?
And it happens a lot quicker than when you're kind of poking at it gently.
Yeah,
at least I found.
He does have a point, though, that like eventually the graphics do kind of fade into the background. Like the biggest change over the course is the color palette. Honestly, that and the scale of the bosses that they present, like those are always pretty novel. But that stops being a source of amazement. Although you get spikes of it when you sit down for the first time in a session and say, "Damn, this is pretty." But then it becomes like what I see when I play like an Isaac, which is dots and blocks.
And I think that's kind of just video games, though. Yep. Like even a really good looking game, like it's rare that like I continuously, I'm just like, whoa. Yep. Like, and if that were the case, like individual areas can do that. And I think that might be part of what Chase is getting at, is that like there aren't like set piece wows in this, so much. Like you're never like when playing a Souls game, you're never newly wowed by just the quality of the graphics, but you can be wowed by the design of an area, by the layout,
by what it's showing you. And this, like the game probably suffers in that regard for somebody who wants that, because the dungeons are so utilitarian.
Yes, I would agree with that for sure. Dalton says via contact, I've always wanted to play 3D Dot Game Heroes, and now that I know it's published by From, I might pick it up. I'm glad Sticky White Stuff makes another appearance. Even if it's just a funny little Easter egg, I'm sure there's someone out there that's devised an in-depth theory of how the kingdoms of Dotnia and Boletaria are one and the same.
Yeah. No, Dotnia is Anne Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Shit, you can tell. It's really obvious now.
Yeah. Now that you see this MS painted.
Yeah, now they see this conspiracy chart.
Yep.
Now they see this post on Reddit /Dark Souls. I'm convinced.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sticky White Stuff. Check it out. Like, I probably wouldn't have played this game if it wasn't for a show, just with the way that my game playing shakes out. Yeah. But it is, find any excuse you can, especially if you have affection.
And especially if you have, like, I can imagine this kind of not, when you, or in the first episode, you said this was a remake of Zelda for people who like Zelda. Like, if you can't handle old school, like, NES games, I could also see you not being into this. Like, the non-Souls, non-NES fan, like, probably wouldn't dig this very much. Like, the kids who grow up who are just like, I fucking love Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Like, probably aren't going to like this that much, I don't think. Because it is kind of inscrutable and difficult in a way that, like, you require some patience.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like specific audience, I think.
Yeah. There's like a limited appeal.
Yep. Yeah, but I think that it's worth checking out to see if you like it no matter what, just because it is so uniquely beautiful.
Yeah. And it's like $13.
No, that's the other reason too. It's a cheap way to see something pretty.
Yep.
Which doesn't always happen.
Right. Ed Billy Volmerhausen.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Sorry, let me repeat that. Ed Billy Volmerhausen.
Yes.
Cool. He says, I loved the game. A Zelda-like game that I could play as a cowboy penguin if I want to. I'm in. I would love to see a sequel or spiritual successor, as it were. I think it would make a great handheld game. Yeah, slap this bad boy on the Vita.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would look, and do like a remixed, version, like a director's cut kind of thing. That would be really great. And that would probably, in the wake of how popular Souls have gotten, then you can probably play Solaire, I'm sure.
Yes.
Like there'd be a nice little included Solaire hero.
Yeah, the way things are going, it would probably go on the 3DS, which wouldn't be too bad, but that low resolution wouldn't convey, I think.
No, but the 3D might be cool.
Yeah.
With that, like I don't usually play games from start to finish with the 3D on. I usually will turn it on for a little while to check it out.
Yeah, just
and then
just
turn
to
it
peek
off.
in. Yeah.
But this would be, I could see this kind of working in that fashion, and could really sell that illusion of it. Looking down on a model town.
Yeah.
That'd be really neat. Philip Kvarnstrom.
Let us know if we're right.
Kvarnstrom. There's the Q and a V. There's no U after the Q. It's difficult. Philip says from Facebook, I own the game and have only played it a little bit, but one of my favorite details is that one of the pre-made characters is the mech from Metal Wolf Chaos, another From Software title in which you play as the President of the United States piloting your mech in a fight against the corrupt Vice President. And Metal Wolf Chaos is forever on my list of games that I'm planning to emulate that I wish I could actually just buy.
Yep.
They did a speed run of it at one of the AGDQs, and it's amazing. Fucking awesome.
One of our many seasons, if we're looking to kill some time, we should probably do From Goes Nuts and just do Metal Wolf Chaos and Ninja Blade.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Even more than just From Goes Nuts, I think that depending on how much time we have to kill between Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, we probably will do another other From games software. Other than when we do a Spirit, we could probably do another season that was Kingsfield 1 and Shadow Tower, or Shadow Tower and or Eternal Ring, but it would be cool to do an one Armored Core game, see what else this company is known for.
Yeah.
And Metal Gear Chaos will be or Metal Wolf Chaos will be part of that.
This is a complete aside. I needed something to play for the level, so I didn't just bring another Phoenix Wright game. So I popped in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
I've heard that's really good.
It is so good. Oh my god!
I've heard it's excellent.
It is a platinum game. It's basically Bayonetta, except you are fighting a Metal Gear Ray and cutting it in half. I didn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes, but dog.
It's it's on my list of games I really want to play.
Yeah. So
it's on the short list, so to speak. Once I get kind of caught up with game homework. Speaking of which, and this is an aside because we can do asides in appendix episodes. Yeah. Is The Evil Within worth $20?
I bought it. I haven't played it yet though.
Okay, because it's on sale right now, and I'm I'm interested in that, but it got really mixed reviews, and I wanted to talk to somebody who actually played it.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet, again, because of game homework. Some of the changes we've made in the lineup might make it easier for me. I want to, what I want to do, I want to get a month ahead. That way I have time to burn. Otherwise, I can't feel good playing a non-assignment game.
Yeah. It's a really specific problem that I also have.
Yeah.
That is hard to be sympathetic about, but I understand regardless.
Exactly.
Not hard for me to be sympathetic about.
Hard for everybody. It's a podcast problem, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like it. That is one of those ones. This was an inexplicably fruitful year for AAA horror between that and Alien Isolation, and I just haven't played either. I picked them both up on a sale when they were ridiculously cheap. I would say Evil Within probably is worth it just for curiosity, but that's with my priorities and also with my affection for Resident Evil 4, which this is very much in the vein of.
Yeah, and I love Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
So so I might end up picking that up.
So I'll take us into just fun, which is actually related to what we just said. These are just a couple of mildly related things because I saw this being a very slight appendix. Michael writes in via contact to give us a heads up, saying, I've been watching Salt and Sanctuary, but it wasn't until Vati posted this YouTube video that I realized how Souls-like it was. Any thoughts on this? I think a 2D Souls game sounds like a blast, and I love the idea that it will be on Vita and therefore portable.
Yeah, I haven't watched this video in specifics, just because I learned about Salt and Sanctuary, but I didn't want to get, partly because of the problem we were just talking about, I didn't want to get a game boner for something that I felt like I wasn't going to be able to really play when it came out. Like, I'm very much considering taking a year and like not playing anything new, except for things that except for Bloodborne and then like Project Eternity and fucking Tides of Numenera because I already bought them. But like just taking a year and just like, okay, I need to catch up because I've been having a lot of panicky mortality feelings about my Steam backlog and my media backlog in general that are making me uncomfortable. So that is the reason why I've not looked into this, even though I did think like, oh, the fact that Vadi's covering this means we can probably do it for the show at some point and I'll probably like it.
Yeah. So I watched that video. I had seen like maybe some glimpses of this on Joystick or whatever. This game was sweet. Like I could totally see it being fodder for the show. It's beautiful. It is an absolutely gorgeous game. In a way that I didn't expect it to be. It's by the guys who did Dishwasher Samurai, that Xbox Live Arcade game.
I don't know it.
Yeah, it's another kind of like visually pleasing 2.5D sprite-based game. And this very much does appear to have Dark Souls atmosphere and pacing.
Okay.
So I'm excited about it. There's no release date for it, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out when it is convenient for me.
For sure. Like I'm definitely interested in it. It may end up on the show. But just I'm gonna die before I get to do everything I want to do in life.
Yeah, I've been having that panic about like if only it didn't work.
Yeah. And I go to school full time and don't work. And I still have that panic. It doesn't go away.
Right.
That panic will rise to fill the space that is made for it.
Yep. It's goldfish panic.
Yep. So just look forward to that if you ever achieve better work. There's no such thing as work-life balance.
Nope.
You literally will never have like just, mortality.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. Boy, I went from like being young and not being scared of dying, and now I'm like a middle-aged man and I'm super scared of dying in a way that kind of grosses me out in how generic it is. Like it's the kind of thing that everyone says will happen to you. And then I was like, well, not me. And then it did. And now I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like I'm just freaking, like every once in a while, like I like stumbled across archive.org and I was looking through all those DOS games. I was like, man, there's a lot of DOS games that look pretty cool. And then I found out that there's tons of old video game magazines and like weird D&D supplementals and stuff. And I was like, how many an alternate version of my life would be to like review every D&D module that ever came out. That would be a fun Tumblr project that I don't have time for. Another alternate version I just keep thinking of like alternate long-term projects that I could be doing that I also would like to do.
Yeah.
That I just can't.
Yeah.
Like
I've parted out like what I would need to get per article for Hexcrank, which I desperately still want to do.
Yeah.
Like I just can't like it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Right. Like so if I like ran a Patreon, it'd have to be like a crazy number, like a crazy amount of like money per article to make that viable from like a per hour cost. It's just, it's staggering.
Yeah.
And
it's hard, man.
And I've been running into that because we just had a situation here in Cincinnati where a bridge fucking collapsed, like right on top of a bunch of people, like like an overpass kind of thing. So now whenever I drive under a fucking overpass, I think, is this it? Is this the day?
Am I not gonna be able to finish Revengeance?
Yeah. Is this the day where God fucking stomps on me with concrete and rebar?
Yeah. Yep. And prevents me from
doing my Alone in the Dark article. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. It is a thing. It is a real terror that I have constantly that I should probably like talk to a therapist about or something, because it borders on paralyzing sometimes, where like I know that there's all this stuff I could be doing. However, the path of least resistance is to put on a YouTube and go through my 1000th Isaac run, and just ends up just sucking away my life.
Yeah.
So before this gets too depressing, wrapping up this appropriately named Just Funnin' section with some more funnin'. Sean says via contact, I wholeheartedly align with your views on anime. Thank you. As a result, I just listened to your episodes about Berserk.
Like it's something admirable.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we're closed off to a whole medium? Thank you. As a result, and part of the anime thing, man, not to not get on this, but like, Jesus Christ, who has time? Like, I want to watch Justified. I don't have time to get into animes. Like, there are a lot of, there's no way. Anyway, he continues. As a result, I just listened to your episodes about Berserk to fill a podcast listening void. The images and concepts are interesting, but what really interested me is actually tangential discussion that came up during those episodes. What books, book series / film / whatever do you guys like that you do recommend to a Souls fan? I just finished the King Killer Chronicles, and I'm going to try out the Dark Tower, but I was curious about what books you might suggest to a fellow Souls fan. I know that it has no context for the normal show, but perhaps with the recent delay of Bloodborne, there might be an episode where this topic might be more appropriate. With this lull between Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne, I'm looking for media to fill the Souls void. If you were to venture a wild guess, what elements of Berserk might fit into the theme and setting of Bloodborne? Considering Miyazaki plays homage to the series and the Souls games, is there anything in Berserk that you might think is suitable for the Bloodborne universe?
Let's answer that last one first.
Yeah, we'll break this down into a couple things.
Yeah. So I think the fact that Bloodborne is more explicitly horror based is going to make it more fertile of a ground for him to kind of like crib, especially some of the imagery from that. Like I'm expecting to see some
cataclysm stuff.
Yeah. I'm expecting to see some real horrific tableaus.
Yeah, and really terrific or really horrific monster designs.
Monsters,
yes. Terrific demons.
Golly gee.
Golly. Ooh, golly. Yeah, I would like that. As far as thematically too, like there's a weird Berserk is such a gritty Dark Ages kind of thing. Like there's a lot of like really lived in mud villages and stuff. Specifically the arc with the church, where they're kind of going from town to town and are oppressing these people. Like I could see that kind of peasantry, low fantasy kind of coming across in Bloodborne, since it does seem to be like more focused on kind of more of a dun colored, era of medieval history kind of thing. So I could see that, and echoing what you say, like I think that the fact that it's supposed to be scary will probably open a lot of doors.
Yeah. As for other stuff that kind of mimics this, I can't really speak to that, honestly. I think that, over the course of the series, we've kind of like trickled out a couple, and there have been some listeners who have recommended some stuff. I mean, you're already going to check out the Dark Tower series, which is more similar to that in kind of the meta narrative and atmosphere of it. But other than that, I can't think of something in a visual media that kind of evokes the same feeling.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to come with that because it hasn't. I don't think it's happened that much, and part of what the reason for that is, and part of the reason why Dark Souls is my favorite game, and why it had such a huge impact and inspired us to do the show is because it's so singular. If that aesthetic and feeling was more common, I think that we wouldn't. That wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Like I think that we wouldn't have been as awestruck by Dark Souls, and we, meaning me and Cole and you guys, and then also just the world at large, if it was something that you could find elsewhere easily. If that makes sense. Like even Berserk, which has a lot of similarities, tonally is, mildly more hopeful, and there's exposition in it. And, there's dialogue, like people are talking to each other constantly, and there aren't like mysteries in it the same way there are in Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So that's probably the closest thing. I hate to give you a non-answer, but I don't really have something for it. There are some things that like kind of have some of the same feel to them. Like there's something, the kind of mix of like metaphor for physical monsters. I got a little bit of shade of that in the Babadook, even though it's a little bit different, but there's a little bit of that metal textual stuff in that as well. And then for some reason, when I was reading the question, I kept thinking of Dark City.
Oh, yeah, the Matrix ripoff? Not a ripoff, the concurrent.
Oh, not even really a ripoff. Like it's way better movie. Like Dark City is really good.
Yep.
I kept thinking about Dark City, which is again just kind of like hopeless and nobody. There's a little bit of unreliable narrator, more in Dark Souls 2, in the fact that people's memories are suspect in that game. So they're kind of like doing something why you don't know why. Yeah. And being at the mercy of things around you. But again, it's not perfect. It's not very good as far as analog to Souls. Like it's very good in its own right, but it's hard to think of it being that similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to not have a great answer for that.
Yep. So let's renew the call to the listeners. If you have any recommendations, those always find a place here. So
yeah, and it's real cool. Like I always hear about like fantasy book series that are similar, and I like to hear about them. But again,
it's the
see our earlier discussion about our impending deaths. That I don't know if and when I'll get to them.
Right.
Like so. Yeah. Thanks everybody.
If you have any thoughts about Shovel Knight, you can send those in at duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah, and try not to make all the thoughts just like gushing superlatives and exclamation points, which is what I would do,
right?
Because it is so goddamn fucking amazing. Yeah, and if you have any thoughts about Lords of the Fallen, we can start taking those as well. We're covering that and not just a one-off. That's going to be 3 episodes and an appendix.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into that a little bit more in depth.
Picture our coverage of Kingsfield 4.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And also go back and listen to our coverage of Kingsfield 4. I like those episodes.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm going to, on Saturday, I'm going to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Always does that trade show.
Oh, yeah.
Halfway through, I'm going to go try to finally hunt down my copy of Kingsfield 1 that I want to find in the wild rather than buying on eBay for a reasonable price. for some reason.
Yeah. You know, a man's got to have a code.
It's fun to find shit.
Yep.
Like I like having a hunting. I like having prey. Gabriel, I like having prey. Welcome to the watch. So thanks everybody. And stay tuned for some deleted scenes. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, bud.
Yo, what up?
What up?
Man.
How's your dick hanging?
My dick hanging good.
Hanging good.
Yeah.
Hanging 10 centimeters.
It's hanging 10. It's the end of it's making that there hand gesture. The doctor says I should be worried, but I'm like, hell nah. And then I'm
like, jerk off motion.
Yep, with my crazy third dick hand.
Yeah, I got 5 dicks on each hand. I play piano like a fucking pervert.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining the monster that we created, just like looking in the mirror like it's a music video, and then like running his hand down it, except leaving like trails.
I'm imagining getting to the end of the movie, and he's like holding the artifact, and he's like, you know, I will take the heart of doom and plunge it into the casket of unending winter, and then somebody's like, quick, I gotta think of something. And then the heroine of the story like unzips her blouse, and he gets finger erections and has to drop the Heart of Doom. But it splatters against the ground because he can't do anything when he's turned on. Yeah. His hands become like action figure.
Oh man, I'm getting
G.I. Joe mitts.
I'm getting blue wrists.
Yeah. Carpal tunnel is what they call that.
I like the idea of you know, kind of like whenever somebody's hanging dramatically from a cliff, like one finger goes and the other finger goes. Yeah, him holding it, it's like, boing.
Think about baseball. Think about my mom.
My mother's mortality. Damn it.
Yeah, no, we're all gonna die someday. Bruce Valanche.
Man, we lead very different lives.
You don't think about Bruce Valanche to stop from getting boners?
You know what? I don't think about Bruce Valanche at all.
I was just thinking about how so 2 things. One is I meant to say Harry Knowles.
Okay.
2, I don't actually try to suppress boners anymore. Like that was like a high school thing. But now if it's there, go for it.
Yeah,
like
it's like
it's just welcome.
Yeah, I just got so good at hiding them that I don't really care.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's like whatever.
Like here it is.
Yeah.
Like who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, whatever.
It's like being an adult. Like you can eat when you want to, and you can also just get a boner whenever you want.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me I don't have to carry this Trapper Keeper around anymore?
No. No.
Okay.
It's all adult. Like it's all like on the side says like Hill Street Blues and cereal and stuff.
It says my Barney Miller commemorative lunch pail. Yeah. What do you mean they heat up the Dr. Pepper? Oh, it's a joke that happened twice in that series. That's your Barney Miller deep cut.
Yeah, that's quite the deep cut.
Yeah,
it's deeper than I can cut in general.
Sorry, I'm sleepy. It's been a long week.
It's all right.
You guys found a house?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome. It's a real great little story. Like we were going back and forth between 2 houses. It's difficult because between the 2 of us, we have 6 animals.
Yep.
6. So
let's count them. 6.
There was a lady who would have us, and the house was big, and relatively cheap, but there were all these kind of like red flag signs with her. There were like 2 things that were downsides. One, it was kind of in like an unhip, out of the way neighborhood, like just super residential, and like I don't drive. So it'd be like, you know, minimum to get somewhere, to like get to a restaurant or a coffee shop or something like that. It'd be like a 15, 20-minute walk, which isn't that long, but like I'm not used to that. I'm a city boy. I don't drive. And then the landlady was like all kinds of red flags. Like she was like, yeah, you know, did I already tell you this?
No, I don't think so. Anyway,
where she was like, one, like she had to get the house like up to code in all these different ways, and she just kind of hired her brother to do it. So like both the times we went and checked out the house, there was this like scummy carny looking dude like smoking out back, like, and I was like, that seems, you know, but I mean, you know, I'm not trying to be like classist or anything like that, like just like, and then what business do I have being classist? Like I make, you know, like $1 a year, but the so I was just kind of like looking at that dude and just like, yeah, I don't know. And then she was like, yeah, and I was thinking about, having you guys move in and then we'd finish remodeling the kitchen. Like, while you're there, we won't be a bother or anything. And I'm like, that's very much the definition of a bother. Like spending a month remodeling our kitchen where we eat and prepare food and like our house full of animals and stuff, just as we're trying to unpack. And then she said, like, well, you know how, like, because it had this really insanely huge yard. And she's like, you know how people will sometimes like rent out a driveway or rent out like a backyard for like RVs and stuff. I was thinking about doing that with this, and then like it would have benefit you guys because the money would go back into the house. And I was like, nope. That double doesn't benefit us. Like triple doesn't benefit us. Like 1, we lose the use of our yard. 3, 2, we got randos. 3, like then it goes back into the house, which means more disruption. Like, and then we pushed back on that. And she's like, no, I can see that your point. But I was like, I don't like her very much. She was nice, but I was just kind of like put off. And then we went to a house that was kind of like punching outside of our weight class. Like it's a little nicer and more expensive than it was like at the top end of our range. But I really liked the house. And the lady was really, really nice, like sat us down and gave us coffee and stuff and talked to us for like an hour. And she's like really cool. And then she called because she was nervous about money because me and Elizabeth don't make very much money. And rather than being like, Elizabeth was like, well, she's kind of right. Like it is a little bit expensive. Maybe I can get my dad to like sign on as a guarantor or something like that. She was like, well, what if, what if I drop the rent like $100? Which like that doesn't happen. This is a super competitive housing market in Portland right now. That's just crazy. And it makes it like just literally a pittance more than the other place, but it is like twice as nice. And the landlady like could be my aunt. Like she's amazing. Like I was like, she's really, really nice. And then it's in like really desirable area. Like, 2 blocks away from like all kinds of amazing shit. And wow. So it just kind of worked out in a weird, like, just like, oh, okay. Like we were going back and forth and like, it was me and Elizabeth are both on month-to-month leases, but hers ends in May.
Right.
So like she had a deadline and I didn't, and I felt bad. Like I would have rather just waited for a third thing. And she's like, I got all these dogs. Like I can't do it. And then this lady is just like, and when we were talking to her, she was like, she was talking to her friends and all of her friends were like, no, that's crazy. Don't rent to them. But then she had one friend who was like, her kind of like hippy dippy friend who was like, yeah, but you remember when you were young and like just kind of needed a break and stuff. And she decided to listen to
wonderful.
The nice friend. Yeah, it's very nice. And then when she was talking to us, I got to a point where I was like, because she kept bringing it up because she was kind of talking to herself through it. And then for a moment I was like, this is getting a little condescending. Like just like a little bit like, just like a little bit like this is definitely us benefiting from white liberal guilt. That's 100% the case. However, it's not like we're living out of a box, right? Like I live in a place and pay my rent now and have since I was 18, like it's not like I can't, I don't actually need charity.
You're like, you're just on the margin.
Like, Like, I just don't make very much money. Like, and this was, even if she had not done that, I think we could have afforded it just fine, or we wouldn't have like, applied for the apartment. Like we would have been fine. It's just a little easier.
Right.
Now, so it's definitely appreciated, but like, and I was just kind of like letting her, like it was for her to feel good, and I was letting her feel good, but it did get to the point where I got a little rankling. I had to swallow my pride and choke on the rind. Eventually.
Well, hey, all's well that ends well, I guess. That's wonderful. I mean,
it's really cool. Like I'm going to set up my stuff in the basement because I need to separate roars, and like I've got it kind of planned out for like, I'm pretty much going to set up the same setup I have now with the bookshelves kind of surrounding the recording space for sound reasons. And it's going to be really great. It'll be a little disruptive for, a week or so as I move and get set up, but it's going to be really great.
Well, yeah, I'm really happy for you. Thanks. That's got to be a huge load off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, and it just sucked having. Well, it was mostly just because it was causing tension between me and Elizabeth. Like, it wasn't so much a stressor for me because I could just stay here and be fine. But it was a stressor on her, and therefore, in turn, was a stressor on me. And it's just like a really ridiculously cute place. Like, it's a little house, but like, it's real. Like, it feels like even at the top rent that she was paying, she was kind of like it was a real bargain. Like just very, very hip neighborhood. And then like there's like a chicken coop in back if we would decide to become those kind of people.
And if you decide to become that kind of asshole.
Yeah, exactly. If we decide to become that kind of classic Portland, like we have hens. And then there's like, I don't know, it's very nice. So
well, that's great.
yeah, it's gonna be super cool. I'm looking forward to it. And then the move-in date, the other place with the other lady who was not finished with renovating, like was trying to get us to move in a lot sooner.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be such a great benefit for you. Like, you know, there people are gonna stay in your backyard. They're probably gonna jimmy the lock on your window, and I'm gonna use the proceeds to build some equity on my house that you're renting from me.
Yeah, exactly. That I'm going to sell in like 3 years, or like whenever you leave, or whenever I decide to kick you out.
Yeah.
There's gonna be guys in t-shirts with pictures of cars on them at your house, like knocking on your door at 8 a.m.
Yep.
Hope you're cool with that. You know. So this lady is way better.
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's very good news.